Okay, demo 9 are several examples of surface rules. We call these spell-out rules because they do pretty much what that sounds like. They spell out into the language the actual textual forms. So let's make some lots of different kinds of examples of number rules for this language. So if you remember back in our lexicon, we set up some forms for this language. So for nouns, we had singular and plural forms. Now you have to realize that the computer's stupid. It has these forms, it knows for any word what the singular form is and what the plural form is, but it doesn't know how to use them. So whenever you use forms, you also always have to use it in conjunction with a form selection rule. So we just click that. And so you can say, whenever the noun is singular, we want to use the singular form. So there's how we set that up. And usually, often, very simple rules. So here's this rule, pick singular. Again, we're not going to be putting the topics in just to save time, but you really always should. Okay, so you can make a copy of a rule. So say we want to make another rule that's similar, you just click on the control button on a rule and it gives you a copy. So then you usually have to adjust the name and make a few simple changes, like we want to select the plural form for anything that's plural. So that's one way to do that. You can also, instead of doing that, you can right-click on the one that you don't want it to be. So you right-click on singular, that says not singular. So here we have a rule for not singular, and we have two form selection rules. Now let's do it a different way. Let's say we didn't define the forms, and we just have a rule for singulars that we want to add a suffix to it. So you can add a suffix or a prefix. I'll give you an example of adding a word. So here we're going to add OS and give it a suffix, a tag number. And you always have to give it a rule. It won't let you get away with that. And so now we've defined a rule that instead of using a form, we've said that the number is implemented using a suffix. Another example, instead of a suffix, you can add a new translation. So say, this is a very specific rule. This is how you would handle exceptions if you didn't do it through forms. So say your language was very regular and it just always added OS for singulars, except for this one word, this EFG word. You can write an exception there and change it in the case of a singular to whatever I showed there. So what am I doing here? I am going to, instead of adding any kind of affix, we're going to add a completely different word and give that word a tag. So say the OS is the singular number word that we add, and later on, anytime you define a new part of speech here, the program will automatically ask you where you put that in the noun phrase. So we see you've added a new constituent. Do you want to edit your first noun phrase structure rule? So yes. So it throws that subject in there and you order it where it should go. So it goes after the noun for this case. All right. A couple more examples. We can make a table rule up. So you can do singular and plural at the same time in a table. You just click on the row header, say singular, and there it is. Now you can add a row, say anything but that's not singular, so plural. And there's your second row, and then you just click on there and double click and you put the forms you want. So that's a third way to do it, using a table rule to do them both at the same time. All right, and you want those to be suffixes, and you got to put the name of the suffix tag in there, and that's your table rule. And then final example, I think, we want to show how you can make these rules a little bit more complex. So a similar type of rule, but you only want to apply it in a certain context. So we're going to use these structures. So let's just go back and start with what we've had before. It's a singular rule, But we don't want it. We don't want any noun to have this rule apply. We only want it for, say, subject nouns. So we click. So now that says only apply this rule for in the context of a subject noun phrase. And you can say should or should not. So if you click should not, you say any other noun phrase but a subject is what that would mean. So then you just go ahead and write your rule. Now this rule will only apply in that case.